and welcome back to Love Your Food. This week we have sort of an Indian dish for you. This is our take on Saag Paneer, which is sort of a spinach gravy, usually with the fresh Indian cheese called paneer, but we're going to switch it up a little bit and we're using feta cheese in this just because we like the sort of sour kick that it gives to the dish. It's really, really delicious, and here's our ingredients. So we're going to be starting with some frozen spinach, some feta cheese, some clarified butter or ghee. We're going to use a dried hot chili pepper and some cumin, some fresh green chilies, a little bit of lemon juice, some coriander, some garlic, a couple of cardamom pods, some ginger, and an onion. So we're going to start by getting some of our aromatics just toasted in a pan. We're just going to add those to a dry pan to get them a little bit warm, get them toasted, sort of wake them up a little bit. And then we're going to make chili flakes out of our dried chili here. So this is a Thai bird chili, and we've dried these ourselves. We got these fresh, but you can use just regular chili flakes for this. That's just fine. So we're just going to put that in the bowl or in our container here with the cumin. We're going to be using this a little bit later. And then we're going to chop our onion. Now, we're going to end up using the stick blender on this, so we want the onion to cook pretty quickly. We want it to be cooked pretty thoroughly, but it doesn't need to be in any particularly nice shape or anything because we are going to burr mix this later, so it's all going to get blended together. Once you've got some nice aroma coming off of your spices here, so this is the coriander and the cardamom, we're going to take the cardamom out of there, and that's going to go in a little bit later now that it's been toasted a little bit, woke up those nice volatile flavor compounds in there. But the coriander we are going to blend, so we're going to put this into our spice grinder. And we're just going to mix that. We're going to give that a good grind until it is pretty smooth. We want it to be a pretty fine powder, so we're just going to blend that up until it's good and fine. In the meantime, into our hot pan, we are going to add some of our clarified butter, some of the ghee. And then we're going to toss our cardamom back in there. And then once that butter is completely melted, once the ghee is completely melted, we're going to add our onions in there. So you can see in there, it is quite hot. The onions start sizzling right away. And we're just going to cook these until they are well wilted. We want them good and translucent. And we also want just a little bit of color on there as well. Add a little sprinkle of salt as well. And you can break it up so that all of the big chunks have been made into smaller pieces so they cook a little faster. Then we're just going to let those cook for a little while, and while we're doing that, we're going to get some of our other ingredients going. So here's our garlic. So we're going to cut the stems off the garlic, and we're also going to peel the ginger. So you can use a knife for this, you can scrape it off with a spoon, you can use your vegetable peeler, whatever works best for you for the ginger. And then we're just going to chop all of these up together. So the ginger and the garlic, we're just going to chop these pretty fine. So give them a slice first and then come back over it and break it down a little bit finer. And then we're just going to keep chopping that until it is pretty fine. We don't have to go all the way down to a paste, but we do want it pretty fine in here. The ginger especially is pretty fibrous, so we want it in small pieces so it's not really fibrous in the final dish. So you can see here that our onions have cooked down quite a lot already. They're all very soft and translucent, and we're ready to proceed with the rest of the ingredients now. So on top of the onions, we're going to add our aromatics. So here comes our garlic and ginger. And then once that is in, We're going to give it everything a little mix here. You can see that the cardamom pods are still in there as well. And then once that's all well mixed, we're going to add our frozen spinach. Now, spinach comes in a lot of different form factors. If you're using fresh spinach, you can just toss it in at this point. This kind of frozen spinach, where it's in a bag like this, you can probably just add in like this. If you're using the block of frozen spinach that you can sometimes get at your grocery store, those you might want to defrost and drain a little bit first because they hold a lot of extra water. So while that starts to wilt and come back together, we're going to slice up our chili pepper here. So these are our green chilies. And again, we want these pretty fine. We don't want large pieces of the pepper in the final dish. So once the spinach starts to get everything, starts to get melted and you can smell the flavor sort of coming together in there, we're just going to give it a little stir and make sure that it's combined with the onions and everything else in there so that the garlic and ginger and the spinach all mixed together with the onions. We're going to add in our ground up coriander as well. And just give everything a good stir while that spinach continues to cook and sort of, you can see it wilting down even further in here. So we're just going to cover that in the pan for a little while to let it cook all the way through. We want to make sure that it's hot all the way through. And then once it seems that all of the spinach has defrosted for sure, it's all hot in there, all of the flavors have come together, we're going to transfer this into a pot because we want to burr mix this. So we're going to use our stick blender. If you would prefer to use a food processor, you can do that as well, or even a blender. So we're going to add our fresh chopped green chilies in there. That is our lemon juice. We're going to add just our little dash of lemon juice. We are going to add a small amount of cream to this as well. And then we're going to add a little bit of water because we do need a little bit more liquid in there just to make sure that everything gets blended together and is nice and smooth. Now you may want to pull out the cardamom pods before you do this. We didn't, we left them in there, but if you would prefer to take them out at this point, you can, so that they don't get ground up in with your stick blender. And you just want to get it together until it forms this sort of nice gravy. It's going to look, if it needs a little more liquid, feel free to add a little bit more water to that. Really, whatever consistency you want for this. Then we're going to take a little bit more of the ghee and also some of the we're going to take our chili pepper and the cumin and we're going to melt that together. We can do that in a pot just so everything gets nice and toasty. You could even do that in the microwave. We're also going to get our feta cheese ready here, so we're just going to give that a little slice and we're going to get it into pretty small pieces actually. We want it to be not huge chunks. Usually if we're using something without a lot of flavor, something that's a little more textural like paneer or even tofu, it would be bigger pieces, but the feta has got this really sour zing to it, so we're going to make it much smaller pieces than we might normally. So we're just going to gently stir that all together, and we're just going to leave this on the heat until the feta has warmed all the way through. We don't want to cook this for very long at this point. We don't want to overcook anything. We don't want it burning or anything. So we just want to make sure that everything's good and hot all the way through, and at that point it's ready to serve. So you might want to start getting some rice ready. And we're just going to put a nice serving of that over top of the rice. And then we're going to top it with our toasted spice and ghee mixture here. And that's got that nice spicy aroma to it with the chili flakes and the cumin in there. And that's it. That's the whole thing. It's a really, really excellent dish. It's got a lot of flavor, really, really beautiful and aromatic. We love to serve this with other Indian foods. We've done this with the curries that we've done on the channel before. Really, really delicious, and we hope you'll try it. So if you like this recipe, please do like and subscribe. And if you have any recipes you'd like to see Chef Kalo try on the channel, please let us know in the comments below. And remember to love your food.